if you believe that fame is real or fame is a thing, then, you know, you're in trouble because no one has it forever. The goal really is just to do good work and live a normal life for my kids mostly.
We have a little girl here. She is 7, and she has dwarfism.
And what's her name?
Natalia Grace.
Natalia Grace. That is beautiful. I was sent the script to the pilot and a Bible, which a Bible encompasses sort of what the whole series would look like. And I read it, and I thought, wow, this is intense. How would we pull this off? And I said, like I say often, this isn't for me. And then everyone around me convinces me that this is something you definitely should take seriously and you should do this. And they said, you really need to meet Imogen Faith Reed. And she's playing our Natalia. And I met Imogen. We probably had like a 2 or 3 hour Zoom, and we just really hit it off. And I thought, this is how we pull it off with her. And I wasn't wrong. She delivers, for sure.
She stole someone's identity.
I don't know what's going on.
How old are you?
It took so long to get the show going because there was a strike and there were so many challenges that we were dealing with production-wise because of the strike, that a lot longer time had passed than we had planned. And so I then eventually did start to read the research, the police reports and things from what we know of the true story that happened. It starts with a mother's love and a mother's passion and a mother's intention. And I think all mothers have the intention to love their children endlessly and to do everything in their power to give their children the best chance. And I have 3 children of my own. So starting with a mother's love and passion was where I started from. One of the things I've always been mindful of, and has always been our intention, is to tell inclusive stories and to tell all kinds of stories about all kinds of people. And obviously, I have a fantastic legacy working with Shonda Rhimes, and she changed the television game forever for the better. And so I have learned from the best. And taking that forward into my life, I still have the intention to tell all different kinds of stories and represent all different kinds of people. And with this show, we have been able to do that. We have been able to show and shine a light on how we as human beings look at people, how we judge them, why we judge them, what preconceived notions we have of people based on what they look like or how they may sound. They're different from us. They don't sound like us. They don't talk like us. They don't look like us. But at the end of the day, less judgment and more acceptance would do us all so much good, I think. And this, we really were so intentional and thoughtful, and everybody felt supported and represented. There's not a lot of opportunities to do that, and I'm really proud of the show for that. So it's really interesting because if you ask me my memories of myself as a child, I remember myself being really sad all of the time. But then I see pictures of myself and I was always laughing and always looked really happy. So I don't know if I've just always been an actress and I was always laughing and smiling and sad inside and always completely full of I don't really know. I think I was really young and I just was so mesmerized by the Rockettes being up there live on stage. I don't think I understood that I could do that for a living then. I think it was later on, I would continue to go to the theater and I would see the actors going into the theater. And I spent a lot of time in New York as a kid. And I started to understand that that's something you could do for a living. And then I remember, falling in love with movies and watching Michelle Pfeiffer and saying, like, who is that? And how do I do that? And so, and then I sort of slowly started to realize that, because the way I grew up, there wasn't anyone around me doing anything like that. Very blue collar, working class Boston neighborhood. But I wouldn't change the way I grew up for anything. In high school, I was super, super, super skinny. I was not popular. I definitely wasn't a cool girl cheerleader with big boobs. Wasn't that? Um, and so I tell my kids all the time, you can't be that. But I just, I was pretty awkward. Yeah, I didn't go to the prom or do any of that. I was pretty introverted, and I think the kids would call it emo. I was emo. I had so much anxiety and lacked self-esteem because people were so critical of my physicality and how thin I was. It's wild and great at how far we've come. That I'm so happy because, back in the 80s, they were terrorizing us. I mean, even, in high school, but even when I started working in Hollywood, the paparazzi then situation was different. The tabloids, they would say horrible things. But I just remembered being so anxious on red carpets and walking out and the comments about my weight and my body. Hopefully things have changed because it was much, much more brutal 20 years ago. Well, the best thing is the financial security, if I'm being very honest. It's been, really lucrative, and I think financial security is not something that every actress is afforded, so I'm very grateful for that. And the hardest thing is just the repetitive nature of doing the same thing over and over. There's a familiarity with Greys that people love. So we can't change it too much. I mean, I would love to change it so much. I'm always like, let's do this and let's do that. And they're like, shut up, Ellen. We're not doing that. What's extraordinary about Grey's Anatomy is that it's spawned thousands of surgeons. There are so many young women and men who have gone on to be pediatric surgeons, pediatric neurosurgeons, pediatric oncologists. I mean, the people that come up to me and tell me they've gone into the field of medicine because of Grey's Anatomy and medicine is a calling. It's not for the faint of heart, especially working with children. So it's all the time. And it's part of what's kept me on the show so long is it really does touch people in a way that not many people get the opportunity to touch people the way that show has. For the better. It brings people together. I mean, all entertainment brings people together, and that's what we love about what we do, and opens conversations as this show does. But Grey's has really been special for that reason, and I have them all the time, and I'm grateful for them. So Stella and I had watched some of it a couple of years ago, because what happens is all the classmates start watching it. So you can only hold them off for so long, because everyone in the class has seen it except your kid, and then it gets awkward. So like, okay. And so now my 10-year-old is starting to get to the age where her friends are watching it. And so, but I still think there's like a lot of inappropriate stuff that 10-year-olds should not be seeing. So no judgment on other parents, but I just don't want to answer questions. I get some weird questions because I was in the scene. So like, why are your panties on the bulletin board? Really don't want to talk about that right now. There's really no roadmap to being a parent, right? What's interesting about not having a mother around, for me at least, I think is that I always thought that all my problems in my life would be great if my mother were there. And then you grow up and you go out into the world and you meet people who have terrible relationships with their mothers, right? And you're like, wait, what? There's people that don't get along with their mothers? I thought just having my mother would be the answer to all my problems. So, I think you don't necessarily have a roadmap, right? You haven't seen someone do it, so you don't know how to do it. But then a lot of people had a bad example of a mother and shouldn't carry on the way their mother raised them. So, I mean, I think what happens to us as children really informs us as adults. It's a really tough thing to raise kids. And the choices we make really affect how they grow up and how they will raise their children. So we really have to be mindful. But we also have to allow ourselves to have bad days. And as long as we learn from them, we just have to keep pushing forward. I've learned a lot because social media has changed a lot too. And like it's rapidly changes. So I think my 10-year-old will not have a phone, will not have social media when she's 13 or even 14 maybe. It depends on the kid. You know, all kids are different. I don't think there's one answer. I think that it's what they can handle and how mature they are and how sensitive they are and how influenced they can be. And if you see that it's having negative effects and they don't have control over it, you can always change the rules. I'm big on that. Oh, I said that yesterday. Today I'm changing my mind. Give me the phone. I love my privacy and I love to just do normal things and be normal. I either get up, it depends on if I've been up a little late the night before, but I try to get up at 5:30 or 6. I do a solid hour in the sauna. It's like my peaceful place. I do a cold plunge every morning. I work out every morning. I watch the news, have a coffee. And then the kids are usually up at 7, and then we start getting ready for school. And then I drive the kids to school, and then I come back home, and then do whatever I do, figure out what I'm gonna make for dinner, or go to the grocery store, which isn't that really that fun in Los Angeles. That's the part of living in LA that's not fun, is going to the grocery store. Because in LA, our grocery stores are like tourist attractions. And so everyone's in there like videotaping the bananas, doing TikToks with the cabbages. And then I walk in and it changes their whole thing. And then it gets ugly at the Erewhon. And then mama's got to run out of there and then got to go home and tell Chris to go to the grocery store because I can't handle it. It's meltdown number 1 for the day. You know, then I pick up the kids. I start literally just physically breaking down. At like 7:30, I can feel it coming. I'm like, okay, everyone, take your plates to the sink. She's turning. I'm like a Marvel superhero, but like not in a good way. Start like morphing into something else that like needs to be horizontal. You know, Grey's is huge and everything, but I'm more like in the scope of actors, like I'm just like sort of like a blue collar worker, right? I'm like just like go to a TV show and it's not, I'm not the cool kid in high school or the popular kid necessarily. I'm just kind of like a worker bee. And I think that's been good for me because I think sometimes young women get shot to movie stardom and then get to a certain age and it's not the same. And it's great to have ambition and everyone has to have goals and dreams and we all should. But I think that sometimes your journey is the journey you're meant to have. And I think my journey is the journey that I've been meant to have. I wasn't meant to do anything else. And I feel quite peaceful about where I've been and what I've done and really excited about what lies ahead.